It's Monday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns 5 Points podcast presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. Been a week break since we last were on the airwaves, and we've had some interesting. It's interesting because of the initial reaction, and then as more information was released, I think people were able to rationalize what was going on, but Josiah Thompson, it was announced that he will be receiving season-ending surgery to his lower body. Beamer called it a lower leg injury and didn't elaborate. He said if Josiah or his family wants to speak to the specific injury, they're more than welcome to, but he kept it as a lower leg injury. This had me enraged initially, and I think a lot of Gamecock fans initially were like, "What the hell is going on?" Peak gets hurt playing in the 3-on-3 tournament, and this was just another one of those things where I said, "Sage the damn offensive line room." This is a position group that we never seem to get right as far as talent evaluations, but when we do, it seems that the injury bug bites us, kills our depth, and we just haven't had a consistent unit in the offensive line in the Beamer era. So this was just more pile on, and as more information was revealed, it sounds like what had happened was this was something that was planned. It was something that the team was aware of. I think Josiah got into the portal and maybe realized that this injury was going to prevent him from going anywhere of significance or getting any type of significant NIL package. So to me, it sounds like when we brought him back, it was going to be known that he was going to do this surgery. So we've obviously hit the portal hard for offensive linemen. But what was your initial reaction, Thomas, to the injury news? And as the week played out and we got more information, it's probably good we didn't jump on and record immediately following the news, because more information has led us to evaluate the situation differently.
Yeah, so I think that the initial reaction was all due to kind of how it was framed. And I don't even think that it's appropriate for us to call this an injury. I think it should be kind of just labeled as a surgery announcement. I think that we knew about him needing this surgery before he even went into the portal. I think that we may have known that he's going to need this at some point in his career since his freshman year. I don't love that he's not going to be available for next season, because I think that if this coming season doesn't go well, the following season won't really matter. But it does make me feel a little bit better about I was really disappointed with his performance this year. When we signed him, it was a huge deal. I thought we were locking down the left side of the line for the next 3 years, and then he was going to be a first-round draft pick. I thought we were getting like the anchor of that line while he was here. And so, on top of just how disappointing last season was and how disappointing the offensive line play was, his play individually specifically was really disheartening for me. But the fact that he's needed this surgery and maybe he wasn't 100%, that explains a little bit of why he struggled. That actually makes me feel a little bit better. It makes me feel like we weren't just it wasn't us just like ruining his development from a coaching standpoint. He needs this surgery and now he's going to have it. I would suspect that we've known about his health the entire offseason. So we have been planning on him not playing next year, and that has been factored into our strategy in the portal. I think that they made the announcement when they made it because he wasn't going to be available for spring practice, and they couldn't put off the announcement any further. I just think that the fact that Peak getting injured a couple weeks before this, which was not planned at all, made it feel a lot more visceral and like the sky was falling. But, the Thompson thing, I think, was always known by the team. And then, we just landed a commitment from a JUCO guy, Ashton Mazzone. I don't know if that's the way to pronounce his last name. 3-star offensive tackle. So, like I said, I think that we've known that Josiah was not going to be available this coming season for a while. And so that has already factored into how we're attacking the portal. But we've already brought another tackle body in since the announcement. So, I think things are going as planned so far, and it may not be as big of a deal as it initially felt like when it was announced.
Yeah, Beamer, I think looking back on these quotes from Beamer, you piece them together, and he had mentioned that he was surprised when Josiah Thompson went into the portal. After this surgery announcement was made, Beamer said, I knew what I don't know if it's his knees, it's lower body. Everyone's speculating that it's his knees, but Beamer knew that he was going to need this surgery, to your point. And so I think that did surprise him when Josiah Thompson hopped in the portal, and it's like, yo, what are you doing here? Like, I thought there was probably a plan in place, and ultimately I think he spoke with his family and ended up speaking with Coach Beamer and said, why don't you get your surgery with doctors you're familiar with at University of South Carolina, do your rehab in a comfortable, like, why you want to transfer to Oregon or Texas just to get a surgery and be in an unfamiliar place and be far away from home. So ultimately, I think he maybe tested the waters thinking he could, I don't know, still have a high value in NIL, maybe more than he was getting here. But probably those factors of being close to home, close to family, with familiar doctors, with familiar, physical therapists, and everyone involved in our program, ultimately, I believe, led to his decision to come back. But it's still even though internally we probably knew about it, it still rocks our depth. He was still, and I guess we're of the mindset that he was going to be the starting right tackle going into next year, and maybe Beamer and Coach Briles and Coach Clements, already had scratched him off the depth chart and chalked it up as he's not playing at all. So we'll see how the construction of the offensive line looks in the spring. And I said it when Pete got hurt, it's going to give other guys a chance to get reps. And that at the time, it didn't make me feel better about Peak. This is what it is. I mean, Peak still is supposedly going to be on track to play from game one. So it's a little bit different of a situation. They're pretty much already considering Josiah Thompson a scratch for the entire season. So there's definitely going to be a position battle at right tackle now for us to watch throughout the spring and summer. And yeah, it really sucks, but maybe it does explain his performance in the 2025 season and the step back that we believe he took from his freshman year, where he played pretty well as a freshman, especially to be a tackle in the SEC. And we were thinking next level his sophomore year and then go crush it in 2026 and be a first-round pick. So I'm not going to sugarcoat or silver line any injuries on the offensive line. This sucks, but it's part of the plan, I guess, that was already in place. So internally,
I just
let's
want
figure it out.
to reiterate that, like, I don't think it's good that he's not available, but it is different than the peak thing because we knew about, like, our entire portal strategy this offseason has been centered around us knowing that Josiah is not going to be available, which is different than Peak getting hurt. And I know that Peak is supposed to be healthy and ready to play by next season, so hopefully that does not affect our depth either. But there is a difference between us knowing that Josiah needed this surgery and us signing guys out of the portal to fill that, and versus like him just not being available for the spring when we were counting on him to play in the spring. I just want to hammer that home for the listeners.
Yeah. Well, and Beamer, I don't know if it was Beamer or Randy Clements or someone on Twitter or me in my own head, but there was some alluding to, hey, there's a guy that's not even on campus that might be starting at right tackle game one, and that's Darius Gray, because he's not gonna enroll until summer. So it's only gonna the competition's only gonna heat up once Darius Gray gets on campus.
I want to push back on that narrative. I don't think we plan on using Gray as a tackle. I think he's an interior guy, and I think that if Gray is at tackle, something has gone really sideways. That's my 2 cents. I don't think we recruited him as a tackle. I don't think that his skill set is best equipped to play tackle. I think he can be a phenomenal guard, and I'm very excited to see him play guard. But, if he's in the right tackle battle in fall camp, I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, I mean, we got this Armando Nieves, 6'6", 315, played a couple years in JUCO. He started 10 games at right tackle last season at New Mexico State, played over 600 snaps. So he's a guy to watch. We got some other guy. I mean, Zion Giles is another freshman, 6'5", 305. He will be competing for a spot on the offensive line. I don't know which one. I do think it's going to be fluid with who we're working in certain spots. Shed Surratt coming back. Poku from East Carolina, I assume he will be starting at one of the spots. So Nolan Hay coming back. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe Marquis Anderson can get healthy. Hank Purvis is the kid from Purdue. We got Blake Miller Carter Miller from UCF. So there's guys in that room, but obviously you would think the two offensive linemen don't get a lot of publicity and hype, but of course the two guys that were probably the biggest names in that room are hurt. So it's never fun, and it's only spring. But yeah, Josiah Thompson will not play in 2026. Wishing him well in his recovery and rehab, and hopefully he'll be back better in 2027, and then go get his bag in the NFL. So that's the off season of rainbows and butterflies is quickly. It's like the scene in 21 Jump Street where they're jumping from the bad trip to the good trip, like Channing Tatum's in like Rainbow Land and Jonah Hill's in in hell. Let's not get any more of this news. Hopefully the team stays healthy through the spring, and we can really start to dive into some of these position battles and how the team's gonna look as spring practice begins. Let's hit on men's basketball. Michi Johnson, last regular season game as a Gamecock, hits a buzzer beater at Ole Miss to lift the Gamecocks to a 64-61 victory. This team is in the position where you got to win 5 games in 5 days. I think Georgia Southern right now is in their conference championship game, and they're going for 6 wins in 6 days, which has never been done. I think the SEC doesn't have 6 games. I think 5 is the max you can win in our conference tournament based on the buys and double buys that the higher seeds receive. But we're going in. I was surprised we're the 14 seed. I would have thought we would be the 16 seed, but we're ahead of a couple other teams, and we get to play Oklahoma in the first round and see if we can make a run. That's all we have left to try and do. Play with house money. We got nothing to lose, so maybe this 3-point shooting team can get hot from the 3-point line in the SEC tournament. But nice to see Michi hit a buzzer beater. He was very excited. He was posting on social media. It was a nice celebration in the locker room for those guys to end the season with a win. Nice story, but this was a rough season, and we got to make some serious noise happen in the SEC tournament and win it all to get into the big dance. Otherwise, our season will be over. So we'll see what happens in the SEC tournament. But Michi Johnson, big shot. Congratulations on the dub against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Michi, go out with a win. His last regular season game is Gamecock. I know that senior night wasn't very well attended, but I don't know what they expect out of the fans after the last 2 seasons. Some would say that we would show up for the football team under the same or worse circumstances, and in a lot of ways that's true. But I think that most South Carolina fans skew towards me where they do care about football more than anything else, and will be less fair weather to football than the other sports. We play Oklahoma this coming Wednesday night at 9:30. If anyone was curious about catching that game, but yeah, in addition to the men winning their last regular season game, the women were playing in the conference tournament championship. They did fall to Texas, but as Coach Dawn pointed out in her post-game presser, the last time that the ladies lost the SEC tournament championship game, they went on to win the big tournament. So hopefully history repeats itself in that respect. I don't know that will affect our seed. At least I hope it wouldn't. I believe we were a 1 going into it. I can't imagine.
It will in the sense that we're still going to be we're projected a 1 seed, but we're now the 4th overall 1 seed instead of the 3rd overall 1 seed.
Okay.
Which
do you think that
the biggest thing about
that game, it would have moved us up?
We would have been the 3 overall. Basically, UConn and UCLA locked up the top 2 seeds. Okay. And essentially that game yesterday against Texas was to figure out who would be what the 3-4 overall seed would look like.
Well, I mean, I
Now,
guess is UConn the 1 seed?
yes, UConn
So,
will.
so that is pretty significant because now we're going to see them in the if the bracket goes scratch, we would see UConn in the semifinals as opposed to the championship now, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean,
Correct.
that was
That's how the bracket
significant,
would
but
look.
I mean, in my opinion, if we're going to win a national championship, all roads we're going to lead to UConn one way or another. So, if we want to win it all, we got to beat those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and it's big. I mean, we will. What's cool about the women's tournament is you host the first 2 rounds. The number so we'll get to play CLA in the round of 64 and the round of 32, but then we'll have to go to Sacramento for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Now, that's a lot of times that doesn't matter for great teams. We'll beat your ass anywhere, and I think we are one of those kind of teams. But it's significant because the 3 overall seed is playing in Fort Worth, so now Texas basically gets a almost like a home environment for their Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games. So I do think it meant probably more to Texas to get the win, not using that as an excuse. They jumped on our ass early and 14-0 before you could blink. And then basically the game was even. But they had already built that lead, and they did a great job of just holding us off and not allowing us to make any runs. I thought we might multiple instances throughout the game, and they just always answered with a bucket or a stop when they needed it, and it was just their day. It was their day for sure, and that's all you can say about it. But it's really interesting how LSU is supposedly our rival in women's basketball, but really there's a budding rivalry with Texas. I mean, we played them 7 times since last January.
Well, I think the reason that the Texas thing is overshadowing the LSU one is because it's been more competitive. I mean, we beat LSU 19 times. We got little Boozy crying on Twitter because they can't beat us.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it is. It's been legitimate back and forth. I mean, we beat them in the SEC championship last year. We beat them in the Final Four last year. They beat us in the SEC championship this year. We've split the other 4 regular season games. I mean, it's been a very competitive. I think we're 4-3 in the 7 games that we played against them. But and we're playing them all the time. It's like we're playing them in high stakes games too. Multiple SEC championship games the last 2 years, and plus the Final Four last year. There's a good chance we could see them in the championship this year. They're coming out of their side of the bracket. And then just the Vic Schaefer thing. He used to coach at Mississippi State. We beat Mississippi State in the national championship back with Asia Wilson when Vic Schaefer was the coach. So just a lot of, I don't think it's as spicy as like the Don Kim Mulkey thing, just because Don and Kim Mulkey are 2 big personalities for the women's game, and Vic Schaefer's kind of just a straight edge, no bullshit kind of guy. So he's not the
he's harder to market than Coach.
Yeah, he's not necessarily the draw that Don and Kim Mulkey are, but it's a legit rivalry brewing between these 2 programs. And again, they're in the SEC now, and Vic Schaefer's their coach. He's been successful everywhere he's been, and so at Texas, they're going to have they're not going away, I guess is what I'm saying. And so that's going to be fun to see play out throughout this year's NCAA tournament if we meet them in the championship, and then on years beyond. So tough game on Sunday, but again, yeah, we beat LSU on Saturday, so I know Gamecock fans felt good about that. I did see uh, Lil Boozy on Twitter crying. Even Lil Wayne was tweeting about the game. So
Yeah.
all the
Lil Wayne
Louisiana,
did not like the refs in our game.
yeah, all the Louisiana. I almost wanted to tweet at Boozy and say, "Would you care to come on the Touchdowns pod to discuss?" Uh, but I didn't fire it off. But we're talking Gamecock basketball, and that's always sponsored by Cajun Cousins. I just had some chicken pot pie, orzo, a little dish. It was good, but it was made better by Cajun Cousins pepper sauce. Put this shit on everything. Ain't no Franks. So shout out to the Cajun Cousins. You can go get their pepper sauce on CajunCousins.com as well. Baseball. Let's talk baseball. We get a sweep versus Princeton. I'm not moved.
Yeah,
It's good. We should sweep Princeton.
correct.
The bats woke up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but once
we-
again, I'm
we-
not
we-
moved. I'm still on you, Paw.
we swept Princeton, but we were also down late in 2 of the 3 games. You know, I don't want to poo-poo the sweep because I don't know, how much positivity there will be to talk about this season. So we need to enjoy what we can enjoy, but we also don't need to get too carried away by this either. Although I will say, lots of SEC baseball teams seem to be struggling right now. I think, the expectation was like, we really need to catch our stride in non-conference because, conference play is going to be so competitive. And if we're not firing on all cylinders, it could get really ugly really quick. But I saw LSU lost to a mid-major.
LSU had a bad week. They went 1-4.
I think Florida lost to a mid-major. So, maybe SEC baseball has a down year and we end up doing better in conference play than we're expecting and the season doesn't go as poorly as it feels like it's about to. But yeah, I mean, glad we got the sweep. Hopefully the bats stay hot. Hopefully the pitching gets healthy and we do something.
You're right about the SEC, and some teams are losing that shouldn't be losing, and it hasn't been the picturesque start for the conference. So I think that only puts more pressure on Paw because maybe the excuse is just we ran the gauntlet in the SEC and we couldn't get it done. If
Right.
These teams are not as good as we thought they were, and we're still struggling, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's only going to be more. I don't have any faith either way. Let's just put it that way. But I do think with some teams being down, it ratchets up the pressure on us to perform. And
here's how
it's
I
almost
look at
like
it. If the SEC is down and we still lose, then it makes the decision to fire him that much simpler. If the SEC is down and that allows us to have a better season than we expected, and we find ourselves, in postseason.
That's what I don't want to have. I don't want to be in purgatory of like.
Well, it's like if we're in postseason play, like I don't mind letting him hang around, like because we made the postseason. Like what I don't want is us to, go 500 and not even make the postseason and not fire him. I would like to see us play better than we feel like we're about to and have a season that is good enough that we don't want to necessarily fire him. Or if we're bad and let's get rid of him.
Yeah.
I think being completely average is the worst case scenario because then there's really no satisfaction in winning, and it's harder to pull the trigger on making a move. We either just need to be bad enough to move on, or actually compete.
Purgatory ain't shit. We need heaven or hell.
Yeah.
Like if we're in hell this season, just cut our losses, go get us a new coach. If we can win, but we have to win. I don't think making the postseason is sufficient. We have to actually make some noise in the postseason.
Well, what would you consider making noise? Like, is it College World Series or bust, or like is getting to the
College World Series, but we have to get to a super regional. We have to at least win in the postseason.
Okay.
For me to have any belief that the program's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
and you can recruit off of that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you can still fire him if we don't make a super, or if we make a super, you can still fire him. Hell, we did that with fucking Holbrook.
Yeah, but I think that was misguided. I think if you polled most Gamecocks, maybe we should do a poll. Gamecock fans, hindsight being 2020, do you wish we would have given Holbrook more time than we gave him? Because, we fired him after making the supers, but I believe that's, a lot of that was just in the context of him being compared to Ray Tanner.
Yes, we will do. We'll do this poll on Twitter. We will put this poll out on Twitter about Holbrook. But yes, like I said, purgatory is going to be. That's the worst case scenario, and it'll be in. We're 13-5 right now, but we haven't beaten anyone of substance, and we have some bad L's on the resume. So SEC plays is going to be huge. I'll enjoy the sweep, but again, it doesn't move me. I need to see us do it against SEC competition, but maybe the team has awoken, and I'm just keeping expectations low internally for myself and my own mental health. Not wanting to get too invested, just to be disappointed, but I'm watching from afar. But like I said, I'm still on Paul's head. I don't think he's the answer, and hopefully he proves me wrong, and we'll see about that. But all you can do is watch, and we'll support him. But what else are we hitting on here, Thomas?
So I wanted to just shout out a couple weddings. One of the reasons that we pushed back shooting this weekend is because you and I were at the wedding of Michael Padgett and now Carly Padgett. Michael's a friend of the pod. There were lots of friends of the pod in attendance. And unfortunately for me, that also coincided the same weekend of the Louisiana Will Myers wedding. We know two Will Myers. This is not the Greenville Will Myers.
Shout out to Greenville Will Myers.
We're not talking about you. Ross was at Louisiana Will Myers' wedding, and I would have been there as well had I not been at the Padgett wedding. Will is a friend and rival of the pod. He currently works for Georgia football, but I worked with Will at South Carolina. But I just want to say congratulations to both the Padgetts and the Myers. Both of those weddings took place this past weekend. Lots of friends of the pod at both weddings. But we just want to say congratulations to both of them. And yeah.
I'm not going to let you get off the hook without telling people that you actually married Michael and Carly.
I was the officiant of.
You were the
pageant
officiant.
wedding.
There,
It was my first wedding. I was very nervous, but I got it done.
I mean, he's a business owner. He's a podcaster, and now he's added to the resume. He's a wedding officiant. Did a fantastic job.
Well,
you got some power invested in you. Can you use that power to maybe make some change in South Carolina athletics? Did you any divinity in that power that was invested in you?
I'm hoping that my new power, when I call upon the Witches of Columbia next season, I'll have some extra pull. But yeah, we need to sage the O-line room. I need to do a seance with the Witches of Columbia before next season, and maybe my new powers as a minister will get some extra oomph when I cast my spells and hex Clemson next year. But yeah, I think that my media training from doing the Touchdowns 5 Points podcast, helped me with my public speaking this past weekend, and yeah, great weekend. Had a lot of fun.
It was well done. Great weekend. Where was Will Myers' wedding?
Monroe.
Oh, in Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, Ross, was it as beautiful a day as it was in Pawleys Island, South Carolina? We had 75 and sunny. Boy, it was nice. Shout out to Monroe, Louisiana. Not far from our family roots. You probably ran into a couple Dugases while you were down there, Ross. You just didn't know it. Some of our cousins, but follow us on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We will be continuing through the spring and hopefully getting multiple episodes a week into the spring and leading into fall, which probably are when most of you are listening. But we got some cool stuff that we're talking about. Our next episode, we are diving into a comparison of eras. Now, Thomas and I are born. Thomas was born in 1992. South Carolina joined the SEC in 1992. Our lives coincide with the modern era of South Carolina athletics. We both attended the University of South Carolina, so we are comparing eras of our childhood leading up to that era is the first 18 years of our lives. And then, our college and post-college era. We're going to be comparing those eras because what got me thinking about this conversation, Thomas, was the tweet from whoever about how awful we've been in the three men's sports the past, 18 months or whatever. It was like 15 and 73 in basketball, baseball, football against Power Four. And I was just like, wow, we're down bad right now. And I know a lot of our listeners are with us when it comes to the depression that Gamecock athletics are bringing us. And I started thinking we didn't have a ton of happy growing up. I was like, damn, have we ever been down this bad though? Even though it wasn't that great growing up. So going to be super, super fun and interesting to compare these eras. And I think a lot of folks out there can relate to what we're going through and seeing it and hearing it will be a fun episode for all Gamecocks out there. But subscribe, follow Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You can find us, and we hope to hear from y'all in the comments. Add us, DM us, and we look forward to interacting with you guys on those platforms. So that's going to be a wrap for this episode of the Touchdowns Podcast. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.